Welcome to the first annual MotoringFile Configurator-a-thon. The 22 minis just came out on MINIUSA.com, and as always, we were playing around with various configurations. None of it's a surprise, but seeing it for the first time on screen brings up some interesting ideas, interesting sort of design ideas as well. And so we thought we'd just dive in and do this together and throw it on YouTube, see if anybody wants to watch it, and comment and share thoughts as well. So let's just dive in. So first off, this is a new design of the entire UI. It is actually taken from the BMW experience, kind of lock stock, which isn't bad, but it is a little bit less mini specific. So all the models are here. The hardtop two-door, starting with the two-door, of course, the four-door, the Countryman. Notice they call it an SAV, which is BMW speak for crossover. The Clubman, poor Clubman, our favorite four-door, is soon to be gone forever. And of course, the Mini Convertible, which also is rumored to be on its way out with this generation. So let's dive into the most popular product that Mini has, of course, and the one that's been changed arguably the most, which is the hatch. You click into it, you see the starting price, of course, $22,900. This is not including the Oxford edition, which is, as we all know, under $20,000, an insane deal. And if you can do without things like CarPlay, you can do without things like Adaptive Cruise, it is a phenomenal way to get into a brand new Mini with all the warranty, all the roadside, everything else. 17-inch wheels. You even get a sunroof. You can get a ton of stuff on it for like a hair over 20. So you can't beat it. Now, that's my PSA for the Oxford edition. We can move on to the configuration because, of course, the downside of the Oxford is you really can't do much other than color. You can opt for DCT, which comes with the sunroof, which is a $1,500 plus up. But other than that, you're kind of stuck with what you got. So great for some people, actually ideal for some people. But for those of us who are looking to really create something very unique, not the way that you might want to go. So if that's the case, you want to design something rather unique, this is your choice. So we've got, of course, the Cooper hardtop, the Cooper S, and the JCW. The JCW is the one a lot of people are interested in, as always. I think the Cooper, to my eyes, looks potentially the best, as it often does with these things. But let's dive into the Cooper S. It is the most popular with enthusiasts. Thinking about that price range, $26,900, it's got almost all the performance of the JCW with, obviously a less shocking sticker, if you will. And so let's dive in. I mean, one of the interesting things about this is that you are immediately faced with the classic trim, the signature trim, and iconic trim. This is relatively new for many. For those who haven't spec'd a Mini in the past few years, you're going to be kind of dumbfounded by this. Well, the idea is that Mini has grouped together a lot of these very sort of well-liked and highly optioned cars and sort of created three different versions. The classic is as you can imagine, the base trim. So you've got really the base stuff here. Signature, you get a little bit more, as you can imagine. You go up to 17-inch wheels. You've got your sunroof. You got your heated seats. You have the ability to have a DCT now, and of course comfort access and dual climate control, et cetera, et cetera. The iconic trim, of course, is where you get most of everything. There's a lot here, and I think when we think about what a lot of folks are going to order, I think it's signature generally. And so we're going to dive in through signature and kind of find our way around this new Mini based on that. So when we take a look at this right away, you'll notice some new colors. Moonwalk Gray is still here, Midnight Black, but Island Blue is here, which is fantastic. British Racing Green 4. No, there was no 3. I know that a lot of people have questioned that. And Rooftop Gray. Rooftop Gray is the new one. And so let's keep this relatively straightforward from a Mini perspective. Let's choose that Island Blue. I love this color. I think if it was my own money, thinking about the longevity of the car I'd own, it really depends. The blue you might get sick of eventually. Things like black and silver feel timeless. That British Racing Green is nice. It's brighter than before. The Mini Yours Black is maybe my favorite color in this particular lineup. So let's make this classic. Let's go with a white roof. Actually, sorry, not silver. This is a rooftop silver. This is a new option. Let's go with white. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of those wheels. They kind of look cheap. Am I off base here? When it comes to the 17-inch wheels, I mean, Mini's got a few new ones. The tentacle spokes have been around forever. They're classic. I think they look great. I think if you want to go with something a little bit more interesting, the scissor spoke, I think definitely do that. Easier to clean because they've got the blacked out portion painted inside, so your brake dust just doesn't show up as much, which is, in my mind, a pretty big thing. And same with the roulette spokes as well. This is a design that was introduced last year. And then finally the rail spokes, which I think have been around for a couple of years. Kind of a thicker, like more broad shoulder design. And I don't know why I said finally, but the other 17-inch is the pedal spoke, which is of course all black. Really clean design, really simple. And let's just stick with this for now. Let's say our theme is sort of classic, sort of vintage Mini, if you will, with that white top and these wheels. Let's go to upholstery. Let's take a look inside. So this is actually one of the areas where the configurator's got a lot better. So you can immediately see a lot more clarity in the image itself. If you click into it, you'll notice that there is a 360 view. So no more multiple images. It's really, and by the way, I have pretty fast Wi-Fi, so the fact that this is taking a while to load shows you that this is still sort of being launched, if you will. So here you are, this little fisheye view. One of the things you notice right away are these two screens right here. That is a huge difference in this interior, as is, and if you can zoom in, as is this little detail. So the integration of the vents into the trim and the vent design here has changed, as has this black panel with buttons built in. All in all, you'll see that same sort of design aesthetic right here as well. I think it's some fantastic touches they've added to this car, with one exception. I think they've done a fantastic job of minimizing really some of the fussiness of the previous design. However, they've undone all of it by this really strange pattern, which I don't see any kind of relationship to Mini past, Mini present. There's nothing in the design language that feels like that's hearkening back to or is referencing. So I don't get where that came from. I think it's really atrocious. The first thing I would do is make a call up Todd's Mods and see if he can develop some sort of sticker to put over that thing. I think it's just ridiculous, my personal belief. So let's dive into some of this. You'll see some of these things that these little guys that make you anxious, the exclamation mark. What does that do? What does that mean? Let's click into it. There you go. So it basically is just telling you you're about to spend more money. And with the Mini Yours lounge leather, it's obviously a little bit more. You've got to go up to signature upholstery package and then another $500. So let's X out of that. Mini Yours is a higher end leather. It's sort of equivalent to the, if I recall correctly, the higher end leather from BMW, not Dakota. There's another one. It's soft, it's supple, it's buttery. It does patina. It will get shinier quicker, I think, but it does not have the fake leather pattern that they put on 99% of car leather out there. So for what it's worth, it is a more true material. It's also, given the fact that Mini has said they're going to be moving away from leather seats in the years ahead, if you want to get something that's kind of a time capsule, it's the best leather that's ever been on a Mini. So you've got that. The Chesterfield in malt brown and satellite gray is really, really nice. I've had the satellite gray before. I think the downside of all of that is that with the satellite gray is it gets dirty. You really do have to wash it. You have to clean it regularly. There is a new option here, and this is, again, we'll have to step up to the signature upholstery package. This stuff comes free, by the way, with the iconic package. So that's the thing you have to ask yourself. If I'm spending extra money on this interior, why don't I spend a little bit more and get a lot more thrown in the mix? So let's X out of that and let's just go back to the standard interior and see what that does for us. So it's black, it's got a pattern, it's fairly straightforward. Other than that, I think you're looking at pretty much everything else. Let's take a look. This is where it gets a little confusing. So let's dive into, just for fun, and see what they've done. Once you add it, once you click on it, it doesn't go away. Just keep that in mind. So you have to kind of poke around in packages to make sure you don't have it. So we're at $30,900 right now with leatherette. So that essentially means that if you want anything else, any other leather, you're gonna get that extra $2,000 package. Which, in my mind, if you're spending that money, you almost need to ask yourself, should I just be at that iconic trim level? As far as the surfaces, the great thing about piano black is it's clean, it's simple, it's very elegant. I think the downside is it shows fingerprints, smudges. It is, it's interesting because you see piano black on a Mini for free. That exact same trim is $1,000 or more on some BMWs. So for what it's worth, kind of an interesting juxtaposition there. This is a new one, the aluminum surface they've put in with this really interesting pattern. And then, of course, you can step up and try to get the silver checkered surface, which, again, adds that upholstery package. We're going to cancel that because that is our enemy currently. We do not want to go much more than 30,000. Let's just say that's where we're at right now. Transmission, this is where, of course, you have that option. You can still get the manual. This is a fantastic manual as well. It's a Getrag 6-speed, same one that's in the JCW. If you can stomach this from a commute standpoint, highly recommend it. If you can't, the DCT is great. It doesn't shift as fast as some DCTs, but it's a solid transmission. You also can't fault that as well. Let's stick with the manual for now. So we've got a fairly straightforward interior at this point. Premium package is interesting in this one because it does give you a bunch of stuff that feels like you want, namely the Harman Kardon. And in my experience, the Harman Kardon is something that it takes you from a very mediocre stereo to something that is very passable. I think it does well. Power folding mirrors is awesome. I mean, if you're in the city, it's in my mind kind of a must. This is the question. I mean, $1,500. What are you getting out of it? The rearview mirror auto dimming is nice. You can also just flip it around. Heated steering wheel is really nice first time it's been on a Mini. If you're in a warmer climate, it's not going to matter. Standard interior trim, kind of an odd reference point, by the way. So let's just sort of X out of that and say, we don't need that. But driver assistance, this is one I think for most people, I think this is worth the money. You think about it, $750 for driver assistance package really is helpful. But then look what they do for you. Look what they do. They add the DCT. Now, what's interesting is they used to offer this package with the manual, but they cut it. And I imagine they cut it because the take rate was insanely low. So again, this is where you really have to make a decision here. Do I want active cruise, which I think is a really nice option for those who do a lot of commuting, or do I want a manual? So let's stick with the manual for now. Of course, you've got your stripes. You've got, and this is interesting, they call it touchscreen media display, which is quote unquote included here. And then you've got navigation. Now, this is kind of interesting. So the question is, what about CarPlay? When you actually don't have it. Well, actually, do you? This is what I don't know. Somebody throw down a comment in the comments below wherever you're watching or listening to this, because if you have CarPlay in this car, then it makes a ton of sense. Why would you? Ultimately, why would you want that? Let's do a quick check here and just see. I go to these super secret model PDFs, the spec sheets I have. And when I say super secret, your friends at any Mini store can also get them. So it is interesting. It is actually optional, so you don't get it. So CarPlay is, wait for it, $1,000 option right here with the touchscreen navigation. So interesting. That's a tricky one, and I would say, for my money, it's kind of a must-have. As much as the navigation in the new Mini is good, how much better CarPlay is now than what it was maybe a year or two ago, it makes it worth the money. I can't believe I'm saying that. Peanut black trim, absolutely. I love this look. However, look what they do to you. they make you get the premium package. So when you start to think about this, I just added up. So that's now $1,500 I have to add. I have $1,000 navigation option. Let's see what else. What else do we have? This is our packages, our options. Coming up, dynamic damper control is really nice, especially now that they have that new valve in it that smooths out the ride. So that's interesting. Let's throw that on. Let's say, listen, we live in the city. It's helpful. Let's do it. Parking assistant. I love it to show off. I don't need it. Anthracite headliner, now $0. Thank you very much. Alarm system, I will take that. Universal garage door opener, really convenient. 205, why not? And of course, roof rails. This is one of those things that it's a really nice thing to have. If you need it, there's only one moment to get it, which is right now. You cannot retrofit this thing, so keep that in mind. Napa leather steering wheel is standard, which is awesome. By the way, Napa is the quality of the leather from on the Mini Lounge, the Mini Yours Lounge leather. So, and then the heads-up display, which again I love. So when you think about this, we're now at $35,000, and we did not even choose iconic. Pretty interesting. Let's take a look at this car. Not bad. I love this new blue. Really nice. All right. Let's go ahead and just switch this up then, because let's remember this 35,150. If we were to move this over to the iconic trim, what does that do for us? It gives us CarPlay. It gives us heads-up display, Harman Kardon, a number of different things, premium upholstery, that touchscreen navigation. So, there's some things in here that make it make sense. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice I have for folks is watch your options. If you get anywhere near the dollar amount that it takes to get to that next trim level, you should seriously consider it, because there's a lot of other things that come with. And listen, you might not even know that you like wireless charging until you have it, and it may become this absolute fundamental part of your car ownership. You just need to keep that in mind. So let's X out of this. So we've got a beautiful blue Cooper S. I think, to me, where it gets really fun and frankly challenging is when you get into these really straightforward Coopers. Let's go ahead and let's say, listen, we don't want to do an Oxford edition. I don't mind spending about $28,000. I live in the city. I don't need a Cooper S. I like the simplicity of this thing. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it cheap. And let's keep it fun. The Cooper, to me, is always the better looking car. And I know I probably get some slack for saying that, but let's throw a black roof on this thing. We've got these kind of funky 16-inch wheels, which I am honestly not a huge fan of. 17s just look so right on this car. And I kind of keep coming back to this pedal spoke, especially with the white car. But here you go. I mean, you cannot touch that with that iconic trim. So you're kind of stuck in a sense. You could dial it back into some of these guys, but when it comes down to it, you are really limited in your wheel choice. And that's one of the reasons why people really dislike this approach, because there's a lot of folks out there, a lot of Mini enthusiasts out there that like the basic cars, but they like to splurge. It's not that they can't afford more, it's just that they want a simple car because it's a Mini, and that's the whole it's the ethos behind it. So let's keep that wheel choice, and let's see what we can do for $27,000. So not a lot of choices. Again, you touch this and you get right up into that next trim level. Do have some choice here, which is not bad. I would still stay. No, not really. They're gonna move you to signature trim pretty quick. So let's just keep it. I mean, manual is of course free. DCT is extra. Let's click that and see what happens. Nothing yet. Interesting. Actually, that looks like it is free. So it's pretty straightforward. With the DCT now, you're at 26.9. You do have the ability to select driver assistance if you've gone with the DCT. Premium package, heated steering wheel, etc. for $12.50. Probably not what you want in a car this simple. This is one of those scenarios, again, where you've got that touchscreen, but you don't have nav, nor do you have CarPlay. $1,000 for both those. Again, $1,000 for nav, I don't have a problem with. $1,000 for CarPlay is that's kind of tough. And obviously, if you step up into a different trim level, you're fine. It comes free, but that's tough. So where we're at right now is a $28,000 car. Let's see roof rails on this thing. Let's put some skis on that later. Alarm system, we're going to need that in the city. Anthracite headliners now $250. So let's just ditch that. Interesting, this comes free with the Oxford edition. As does a bunch of other stuff. The nice thing about this is it is a lot more clear. When I think about what I'm looking at, it's much more evident to me what these options are and what they give me. This is really, really nice to have, and this is not something that's totally standard. So this is where we're at. I mean, a $28,000 car that is fairly basic, and those wheels, man, they are difficult to wrap my head around. I think it's tricky. It's really tricky when you're at that level. Now let's do one more. Let's go ahead and start over, and let's dive into everyone's favorite thing to design. And let's just bump this up. Let's just have fun with it. Let's spend some money. $39,900 for a two-door mini hatch that does not have the letters GP on it. The nice thing is, once you step into Iconic, and this is true of everything, there are no costs associated with different colors, which is fantastic. So this enigmatic black, which is $1,000 at times, is free, and it's a beautiful color. It's this super dark blue, very rich. Let's stick with this. It's just a classic color. Again, I love going old school, doing that white roof. Wheels, 18s are, and I am kind of shocked by this, but free. So it's really just down to what you want from a ride quality standpoint, and of course the look that it gives you. I find the 18s don't really change ride quality as much as you'd think. It's very minor in my experience. I think they look a lot better. The size of the car has grown, so 17s I think is sort of a minimum, and 18s look just more aggressive. Starts to close that gap a little bit. So we've got the JCW cloth seats. Interestingly, leather is a no-cost option, so let's go ahead and check that. Although those cloth seats are pretty sweet. Surface, somewhat similar to a lot of what we've seen here. This interior checkered surface is now free. It kind of looks like carbon fiber, but it's also fake. I don't like it. Let's just go back to piano black. Transmission is, of course, manual or that 8-speed ASIN slush box. Let's stick with manual. This is JCW. Let's get it while we can. And then finally, let's take a look at what we have here. Signature upholstery is included in this. It's a little confusing, isn't it? Oh, I see. If you do that, it takes away. That's super confusing. This is one of those things that they just need to simply say, already there. You know, it's redundant, as is premium. I mean, we already have all these options. And again, this is the nice thing about Iconic. I mean, this stuff all exists already. So you're kind of tapped out as far as what you can add. We've got navigation already. We've got CarPlay. Everything is there. So nothing really to add. Piano black interior, exterior trim. Again, always love that look. Staying away from stripes. We'll have Todd do that later. In my magical and my mythical dark blue Mini. Alarm system really should come standard here. Roof rails, why not? And there we are. I mean, what we're looking at is a car, again, which really doesn't have many options. This is a $40,000 car. You may be able to get somewhat of a deal on it, given the fact that things are a little bit different these days as far as buying minis. But man, what a gorgeous car! So iconic trim, $7,000. A bunch of free choices here, which is really nice. And really, you're only spending money on that alarm system or roof rails. That's it. Destination and handling, $850. It's gone up a little bit, and so there you are. So let's get some financing and get rolling here. So that is the new Mini configurator. Of course, the electrified, the SC is here as well, and then the other models are here and accounted for, which is really nice. The Countryman's here, the Clubman. We've got a new experience for all of these vehicles, which is really, really nice to see. I think it's long overdue. You can see the design of that is way nicer than it's been in the past. You can see a lot of the detail. This is a really nice change for Mini. So kudos to them for really taking some time. I mean, they took some time, obviously, but doing it the right way, taking what BMW has done well, updating it slightly, and moving it forward. So that's it. I mean, the new configurator, you can get lost on it forever, and I know that we will as soon as I shut this down. Our approach, as always, is to look at the model you have, think about the options you want, and really weigh whether or not you want to step up into signature trim or iconic trim. Think about what your theme is for your car. What do you need it for? Sometimes it's actually fun to have a basic car and think of it as basic transportation that is just joyful to drive. That's what that sort of standard Oxford Edition Cooper does so well. Otherwise, I mean, you get up pretty quick to a pretty high dollar amount. And with iconic trim, it makes things simpler, but it does definitely swell that MSRP pretty quickly, as you can see here. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Go build, have fun. Tell us what we missed. Tell us what we didn't tell you. Show us what you've built. And as always, give us feedback. This is MotoringFile. Cheers.